Welcome to Embodied Microdosing, where we explore the miracles that happen when we combine intentional doses of sacred mushrooms with trauma-informed somatic practices. Hi, I'm Rai, and this ministry is on a mission to help you embody healing. Let's answer your questions and call in expansion so you can integrate these highly effective evidence-based tools into your journey. Embodied microdosing is where science and spirituality meet to awaken the healer within. Let's take one conscious breath together. And begin.
Welcome back, dear listener, to the Embodied Microdosing podcast. I'm super pumped you're here. This is going to be a quick one. Watch, I'll say that and I'll go on for an hour. But it's a very specific question that I get typically very early on in the embodied microdosing process and practice. And I just want to head on address it because there's a lot of different answers that come with this one. So just putting it all together here. Why did the microdose make me feel tired, Rai? Why did I want to take a nap? I felt like I couldn't get off the couch. I dragged through my day. The microdose made me tired. Let's discuss. So first, remember that while the dose can be metabolized very differently for different people, and of course it's going to metabolize differently for different people because we're all so damn different, that we want to really look at our communion with the sacred mushroom as this conversation that goes two ways. So the mushroom doesn't just make you feel a way, it reveals, it shows, it opens little windows and portals in your consciousness to new awarenesses. So when we're talking about tiredness, it's entirely possible that the mushroom is just showing you the tiredness that is already there. The underslept one of you, the under-resourced one of you. It's not uncommon that this question come from a mother, typically. Not always. So just right off the bat, sort of getting this piece out of the way, yes, we'll get into how the actual substance in your system may have contributed to tiredness. But first, just flipping that script on you to remind you that the microdose reveals for the most part. So what is being revealed? That's the question that you can ask the medicine, right? I know that in my early days of microdosing, I was made aware of how much I really hated my pace of my life. And it was something I hadn't really thought about before, and I just accepted this is life with 2 kids and a business and commitments and a marriage and friendships and a community. I said yes to everything. And I almost prided myself on being superhuman and doing it all and you know, being someone that people could count on. And I was not superhuman in doing it all. I was always late. I broke promises to the people I loved the most, and I was extremely sick, body, mind, and spirit, and kind of overriding it all the time for, you know, to stay busy. Why? Why do we do this? Why do we stay busy? I mean, busy syndrome is what I called it back then when I was working on healing it, but this is a very common trauma response too, right? I don't have to look at myself and my unhealed nervous system and the nightmares I have at night and the memories I'm pushing away and the people that I'm cutting out of my life, or, you know, that whole dysfunctional cycle that I was in then, that I don't have to deal with my wounding if I am too busy to deal with it, right? Many of us know this version of busy syndrome. We're an underslept and overcommitted culture. We are tired, many of us collectively. So just pointing that out here. So the mushroom didn't necessarily make me tired in the beginning. It made me aware of how overcommitted I was and how utterly exhausted I was on so many levels. But this particular question I'm answering today is for the people who their eyes start to close, or they feel really heavy, or they don't want to get off the couch or stop watching TV, I have so much insight, food for thought for you, because I've worked with many, many of you over the years. So let's back up a little bit here, right? Mushrooms can have a dense energy. I talked about this in a previous episode, the gobbly-goopy, heavy feeling in your arms and legs during a macrodose, a larger dose of mushrooms. It's a very dense medicine. I mean, it takes you very deeply into your body. Okay, so the body of the mushroom, the mycelium network, your body, your earthly body, your connection to earth, mushroom is grounding you down. Okay, and this is part of what we love about this medicine. And how do we work with this more dense energy if that's how we're perceiving it in our bodies? Look, y'all, some people, I can't take this too close to bedtime. I can't take this in the second half of the day because I'm not sleeping if I do. And it's not a caffeine hyperactivity, but it's just this surge might be too strong of a word, this steady flow of upbeat energy. Today was a microdosing day. I'm feeling that energy. So not everyone is going to be tired. And guess what? For those of you that have reacted and experienced tiredness when you commune with the sacred mushroom, it very well may be temporary. And for most people it is. So hold out hope here. Don't go anywhere. Okay, so mushrooms can have a dense energy. In large doses, they can feel heavy in the body. And so my feeling is that they're showing you the density of the energy that's also in the body, so that the embodiment portion of this equation is hugely, hugely important. And I'm going to get into that more. But if you are feeling that density either in a macrodose or a microdose and you're not comfortable there, just move some air. Start breathing. Start putting air in and out. 5, 10, 15, 20 times if counting helps you get there, for one song, for one car ride, for just the time that you're in the shower or the bath, right? While you are stirring the pasta, okay? You don't have to take time out of your life to breathe on that microdosing day when you are feeling that density. Move with your breath. Feel into that flow into your body and see if that shifts any of that density that the sacred mushroom is showing you. Physiologically, y'all, I mean, our bodies strive for homeostasis. That's their whole job. They're self-healing mechanisms. They're looking for balance at all times. So when a substance, really any substance, is introduced to the body that the body isn't used to, it's going to work to adapt to experiencing that. The mushroom moves energy. The body's going to feel that energy moving because energy is moving on the physical plane that can be felt, right? Energy is not just this concept in our heads, it's in the tangible. And that flow of energy, it may be making you feel tired, right? Or you may need to unlock that flow of energy to move the stagnation of the tiredness. I don't know. You'll have to explore what it feels like and looks like for you and in your body. But there's this internal energy flow that we're always invited to experience. It's available to us, but stagnation is real. And many of us who are stuck in these trauma responses are in a stagnant state with our energy flow. So that stagnant energy could be manifesting as fatigue, right? And the mushroom could be really pointing that out to you. And the breath, the embodiment portion of things, is what's going to begin to move that conversation along. I don't want to deny that someone wouldn't be sensitive to a fungi. I don't want to call it mold. Fungi is different from mold, but the fungal family, right? I mean, if we could get into it, I have a sensitivity to black mold, and I have heard people say before that they feel like mushrooms take them into that fungal energy and it doesn't work for their systems. I have not experienced that in small doses. I will be so honest and say that in larger doses, in macrodoses, I have felt like, I wonder if my body is really grappling with the fungal aspect of what I took. And certainly when I take the whole sacrament in whole form, as opposed to as a tincture in the microdosing form. So if you feel like, and I have had one community member muscle test herself, who is healing mold, clearing mold from her body, and say, I just don't think my body wants a fungus in it right now. I have so much respect for that. I really do. And, if this is something you want more conversation around, please do leave a comment in the show notes so I can go deeper into that for you, for the community, for me, for everyone, right? We're here to ask questions and to be honest and open up conversation and dialogue around these practices. So let's see, where was I? Energy flow. Yeah, and look, the body and the mind are working to integrate new information when a new substance is put into the body. Or really, even if a new embodiment practice is started, right? A new movement practice, there's going to be changes in your perception. And so this process of the body and mind working together, like, what is this? What's happening here? Could be tiring. That could just be taking energy from you. So I want to normalize tiredness, especially in the beginning of a microdosing journey, because that is almost always when I hear it. Nobody that's been doing this for 3 months is like, oh, I'm suddenly tired. Rarely, if not ever. I more or less see it when someone just begins and they're beginning the journey. So consider that when you consider reasons for the tiredness. Also, let's get into the science here for just 1 second, because let's not forget that psilocybin is interacting with your serotonin receptors in your brain, your 5-HT2A receptors. That is the science of what is happening, of the neurochemistry of what is happening with the psilocybin, the active ingredient that becomes psilocin and then becomes a substance in your neurochemical pathways. And, when you're having serotonin shifts, like serotonin is part of the sleep and wake cycle. Okay, so maybe, I don't know, but here's the science for you sciencey people. Could interacting with the serotonin receptors be part of what is causing some of that tiredness? Yeah, very likely, right? Even in small doses, there's shifts in the neurochemical pathways, the sacred mushrooms. So this could potentially be what might be creating some of those feelings of fatigue for some people, perhaps. Okay, so there's a little bit of science for you there. I want to offer some solutions right off the bat, so you don't lose hope here. Those of you that are like, man, I was so excited to microdose, and now I'm like, okay. You might be taking too high of a dose. There might be too much medicine going in your system. This tired feeling, I did hear a little bit more with capsules and larger doses. So that's why the tincture, the sacrament in liquid form, where you can dial your dose down, is really effective. So scale back. However you are choosing to microdose with whatever kind of version of the sacrament, scale back and see if that helps. Alternatively, hear me out, you may need to break through and take a larger dose. Sometimes too subtle a dose, too much of that nano dose, that little baby dose, which can be miraculous for some, depending on the state of their nervous system, but too little a dose for some can have the adverse effect and almost just kind of put you in like a cranky little fog. And there's a breakthrough point for some people. That sweet spot also may be where you break through to actually perceiving the dose and really getting that 5-HT2A receptor plugged in and going, and that serotonin happening. So try shifting your dosage and really try shifting your schedule. Maybe you're dosing too frequently, or maybe you're not dosing enough. There really is no way of knowing because we don't have concrete evidence, but based on the hundreds and hundreds of people I've worked with over the last many years of doing this in community and in my practice, all you got to do is play. All you got to do is play. Also, I want to say here, you don't have to dose at the beginning of the day if this tiredness is something you're still trying to figure out, but you don't want to stop dosing or change your dose or do anything too drastic yet. You just kind of want to feel it through. Take the dose later in the day and lay down and do a breathwork practice, put on a meditation, go for a slow walk, do a little journaling, do the things that, when you would normally be scrolling or whatever, watching TV, like really use the time with the dose and let the sacred mushroom speak through you, especially as you drop into some embodiment practices. That's really the sacred combination here. That's the special formula that makes me different from others who are just saying, you just need to take this microdose and you'll start to heal. The embodiment piece is critical, especially if we're talking about healing at those deeper layers, healing trauma, not just microdosing for, optimal performance or whatever. That's cool and all. And I have a feeling you're here because you want to get at those triggers, right? So let the embodiment, let the journaling, taking a microdose and having an evening with your partner, like a slower, quieter evening, and playing with connection. I think a lot of us think we're really tired when we're relaxed too. That's something I want you to consider in this conversation here. I think we're so used to being in that hypervigilant, go, 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 up, 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 more caffeine is more better state, because we really do have a culture that prides ourselves on accomplishments, right? We feel worthy when we have created output, when we have checked things off the list. There's a dopamine reward to that, and it can be really hard to stop the doing and the going in favor of being, something that's not taught to us and that most of us have to learn as adults in order to become more successful humans, right? So I wonder, and a point of curiosity for you, is my microdose making me tired, or is this feeling of relaxation and being in a state of rest and not just being driven to go actually so foreign to me or frightening to me that I perceive this as tired, and I either go to bed or I take something or do something to make it go away? What if I could just allow myself to be in this state of quote unquote tired, this liminal state, maybe this little bit of sleepy but a little bit of awake state where I don't need to jack myself up by scrolling or eating some more sugar, and I don't need to escape and flop and go away and dissociate, that there is actually something in between the state of rest and digest, y'all, right? The nervous system state of being safe and okay. Something a lot of us are very unfamiliar with. And to be totally honest with you, I didn't even understand what that meant for the first 40 years of my life. Like, I had no framework for understanding what it meant to feel safe in my body. And I know so many of you can relate. I just always went and did and achieved to be a good girl and to, receive my reward in heaven, and to whatever the story or belief that was implanted in you was, to just go. And look, there's nothing wrong with achieving. I am highly achievement oriented and I love to do. And I did not start becoming well until I learned how to be. And it's still an everyday practice for me. Every day, can I be in this stillness and not open a social media app for one more minute, right? Can I be with this hunger craving or this stomach ache, or my children telling me a long-winded story that I don't really want to hear and I want to multitask while they're telling it to me, right? Can I just be present with the discomfort of that? And I'm inviting you to be present with the discomfort of tiredness, whatever that may look like for you. Let's not forget that you can ask the mushroom. You can ask the mushroom, what do I need to know about this tiredness that is being revealed to me through my early days of my microdosing practice, right? What is here for me to explore and to understand? Show me what I need to know to take better care of myself, to sleep, to turn the screens off at night, to love on my body like it's a beautiful little baby or a toddler, and not an adult who's like, ugh, you again, you have a need, how annoying, right? Tuning into the needs of your body to see if that tiredness has a message for you. So, signing off here on this final note, that embodiment really is the answer that I want you to lean into here. Whether there's a physiological process happening with your tiredness, whether it's energy moving, whether it's a point of exploration for you and your busy syndrome, or your body's needs, whether it's your nervous system or not, the answer here is to tune into your body, to ask your body and the mushroom, right? The combination of the two. Ask, what are you inviting me into? What is available to me when I breathe? Let's take a couple of those in through the nose, out through the mouth. What happens when I move air and let go of all of the doing and going? And look, your mind is going to want to hang on, right? This is not meditation. I'm not telling you let go of all your thoughts and just take 3 breaths and clear your mind, right? Like, that would not have worked for me in the early days of my out of body unwellness. That was not enough for me. I needed to do more to find my body. Now that I've discovered my body, 3 breaths can take me back there very quickly. But get your body outside. If remembering to take a breath, I know when we're in the trauma response, remembering to even breathe is like, what? I have a breath? Like, how am I supposed to remember that when I'm triggered? Can you bring yourself outside? Can you even sit on the ground and get closer to the ground? Find that dense energy, find that floor holding you up below you. Better yet, find a patch of grass, find a tree, find some birds chirping. It doesn't have to be big or gorgeous. It just needs to be a patch of nature, and put your physical body in contact with it. That can support that place of being and that exploration into the tiredness a little bit. Go lay in your tiredness on your lawn. Do it on the front lawn if you want the neighbors to talk, right? Go take a slow walk, even with your tiredness. Energy moves energy. Sometimes we just need to get in a state of moving some energy to feel the energy start to move, right? That's probably a universal law. Like, and stagnation creates more stagnation, you know? So there is an invitation for you to move your body, to meet up with a friend for a Pilates class or a yoga class, perhaps, but build that accountability in on your next microdosing day. I loved combining microdosing and yoga in my early days. And in fact, I probably would love it if I was still getting on my mat enough, but I've moved on to other forms of movement. But yeah, I've been feeling the call back to yoga, and just remembering as I'm telling you this, that there is this beautiful synergy that happens when we can work with a microdose and work with, you know, even a yin class, a very gentle, soft, stretching, releasing class. You don't have to be doing power flows and hot yoga if you're, you know, have 3 kids at home or a chronic illness, right? It doesn't have to be extreme, although go to that extreme if your body and your nervous system and true you is craving that. But let the embodiment be a little bit easier, but invite yourself into some movement of energy, however you can find it. There are free breathwork and embodiment practices in our free community. Visit the show notes to join that awesome space. We do a breathwork church the first Sunday of every month. This is a live opportunity for me to guide you into an embodied healing. I call it breathwork church, but it might as well be called embodiment church. Microdosing plus embodiment church, right? Breathwork church just sounds better. The breath is, of course, one of the main tools that we use to locate the body, move that energy, regulate the nervous system, come to wholeness, connect with God. So many benefits. And it doesn't have to be hard, and you don't have to breathe until you're hyperventilating and need to pass out. It can be very gentle. Honestly, the hardest part is showing up. That's it. You just have to show up. So visit the show notes so I can support you with some breath work and some embodiment practices, touching your body, holding your body, tickling your body, like the ways that we can use our hands and our body to offer healing to ourselves, especially on microdosing days and while you're in a microdosing regimen for healing, is everything, y'all. It is everything. So come back to the embodiment. It will give you your answers. Come back to the sacred mushroom. Ask, what do I need to know? And really allow yourself to explore this. Why did the mushrooms make me feel tired? Question here, and see if anything that I shared today resonates with you to answer that question. As always, I'm so glad that you are here doing this work, listening, growing, setting intentions, communing with the sacred mushroom, and showing up in the embodied microdosing community. You all are so wonderful to work with, and I can't wait to deepen into our journey together. Take care. Happy healing.